All right. All right. So now that we're being recording. All right. So tonight we continue with the Gemaras about being Mavakar Chayla. So on the bottom line of Lamed Tes Amud Beis. Rav Chelbei Cholash. Right, Rav Chelbei was weak. Nofak. Achaz Rav Kahana. So Rav Kahana went and announced it to everybody, which we'll see weiter in the daf, whether that's the right thing to do or not. But Rav Kahana went in and told everybody about it. Rav Chelbei Boish. Rav Chelbei is sick. Boish means sick. So Loi Ika the Kaasi, and nobody came to visit. Right? Which is interesting. Right? So but he announced, Rav Kahana announced it that Rav Chelbei is sick. Nobody came. Amar lahu, Loi Kacha Yemaisa. The Talmud Echad, wasn't this a story? The Talmud Echad b'Talmidei Rabbi Akiva. There was once a Talmud of the Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, Shechala, Loi Nichnasu Chacham Levakri, and nobody came to visit him. Right? Now, does that fit with? I just thought about this second. Does that fit with that Rabbi Akiva's Talmidim were not nagu covered zeh? No, I mean there's a Talmud of Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah, what's the Rabbi Akiva of all the Rebbeim? The one that teaches V'afalecha Kameichas, the one that ends up with all these types of Talmidim.
That just, I hate to be a cynic, Akiva, but that's just seems the way
that's
life
where you learned
goes.
it from?
No, that just seems to be the way life goes. You know what I mean?
I'm just saying, did he only come to his epiphany after he lost all the Talmidim?
I don't know, but it's interesting here. What?
Wasn't that Hillel?
No,
I think it was Rabbi Akiva, no?
is that Klal Gadol B'Torah? I think it's Rabbi Akiva.
Yeah. So I don't know, but it's interesting that maybe this is part of the Lo Nagu Zeh Kavod Zeh B'Zeh. Okay, whatever it is. So he was sick and nobody went to visit. V'nichas Rabbi Akiva levakar. So Rabbi Akiva went to visit him. U'b'shvil shekivdu v'rivtzu l'fanav Chaya, because what he did was he swept. Back then they had dirt floors on their houses. So what he did is shekivdu was he swept the floor v'rivtzu l'fanav, and then he sprayed water on the floor. So like this, it wasn't dusty, sort of like what they do in the fifth inning by baseball games, right? They ever see that they take the hoses and they hose down the infield, so it should be, harder. So that's what he did, and I guess Rabbi Akiva realized that the dust was getting into this guy's, I guess, lungs, and that's what was giving him such problems. So Chai, and then he lived. So Amar Lei. So the Talmud said to Rabbi Hachyasani, you made me live. So Yotzer Rabbi Akiva B'Darash, Rabbi Akiva went out and darshan. Kol mi shein b'vakar chaylim ki'ilu shofet damim. Anybody who's not b'vakar chayla is as if he is actually murdering him, which sounds like a stretch, right? And the Mephirash here says, though the Rashi says, because when you go visit him, you make sure that he's okay. So now with Corona Nebuch, we saw this, right? Because nobody was able to go in and visit, how many people died from starvation because the nurses weren't taking care of them? Right? Had they allowed visitors, people would have gone in there to see that there's something wrong with these patients, right? So you do see that, right? Everybody knows you don't leave anybody in a hospital by themselves without somebody checking up. Many times through Corona, we mattered, Rabbanan mattered calling into the hospitals on Shabbos just so that they have to be on their toes, that somebody's after them.
Yeah, but you were clearly an honest in that case.
No, yeah, but do you see that relatives, visitors, and you could be taka shofech damim. You could be a shofech damim if you don't go.
Also, we let people go along with the patient because they have to be an advocate, like on Shabbos.
Right, exactly. Well, Hatzalah lets him bring the cleaning lady too, and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, of course, he's got to drive the car back,
Yeah,
Let the Hatzalah member pick up their cleaning lady.
Yeah.
or else they won't go on the call because they have to do the dishes.
Yeah, next time. Rosh said next time you're not going to want to go if you don't have your cleaning lady. Yeah.
No, whatever it is, but that's what the Gemara is saying. So by visiting, you can take care. You can be able to take care of his tzrochim. Say, but that doesn't mean that you're the one. It says keilu. I guess that's what it means. Keilu shayfer dam. It's as if you shayfer dam. This is not brought in Shulchan Aruch. It's brought in the Rambam, right? But it's not brought in Shulchan Aruch. So that's always interesting why the Shulchan Aruch didn't bring it. Fine. Anybody who visits the chayla, he causes him to live. And if you don't visit, then you're going to cause him to die. Right? Along the same things. Now, what does that mean? So Gemara asks, my grandma, what does it mean you're going to cause him to live or to die? So Gemara first has a havamina that really does. The Gemara doesn't really think is a havamina. Said anybody who goes to visit a chayla. So when you go to a chayla, so you ask the Rabbeinu Shalom for rachmanis. The choshein mevakar a chayla. So that means if you don't visit the chayla, which the Gemara said gehinom lo sheyamas is mevakar shalav rachmim sheyamas. Does that mean that you're asking Hashem for rachmim that he should die? Sheyamas agadaitach. Do you really think that somebody who doesn't go visit somebody who's not well means that he's davening for him to die? If you don't go visit the chayla, you're not going to end up davening for him. You're not going to daven for him that he should live, and you're not going to daven that he should die. So Mamela, you're just indifferent, and indifference is bad, right? So that's what it's saying. Meaning, we're assuming that if he would die, so that would help out the chayla. So since he didn't not die, if he would daven, that would help out the chayla. Since he didn't daven, so now he gave up an opportunity to help the chayla. Maybe the chayla is going to die, right? So it sounds like from this Gemara, and that's the Tshuva and Ramesha also. It seems like a lot of the point of going to be mevakar chayla is to daven for the chayla when you're being mevakar the chayla, right? That's what it seems from all these gemaras. Clearly, it seems like bikur chaylim. It's one to take care of the chaylim's needs, and two is to daven for the chayla. Yeah. Now then you have a major run over here. This run, this is the second run on the Amud. And we had this in the Gemara and the Ksubas. It's mashma. The Ran says it's mashma in this Gemara that you're allowed to daven that somebody should die. Nobody should ever know from it, but the bottom line is that that's what it's mashma here. Because if you go in and you see that the person is in a bad shape, then you could daven for them, which Ramesha Paskins like, Rav Shlomo Zalman Paskins like this. Not everybody agrees, but then it gets into, okay, so now if you're allowed to daven that somebody could die, so then maybe you can, or you can't ever pull the plug. Pulling the plug is never allowed, right? But you could maybe withhold certain medications and certain things like that if the person's going to die anyways. But this is a major.
Hold on, Tziyaka, the same heter you have to shut off the grill, but not by the source. Do you have that heter to pull the plug?
No, it's a grama.
The same heter for Ramesh. You're really shutting off the gas. There's still a little bit left, so you shut off the You know what I mean? Half a second. That's
No. Ramesh says the Farish that you could never withhold oxygen and water from oxygen and IV from a patient. That's considered basic necessity. That you can never do. The question is the doctors come in and say there's no hope. What happens if there's a heart attack? Do you want us to break the ribs? Do you want us to do that? I might keep him alive for another few hours, but it's not going to, etc., etc. So that's where you get into this whole. That's where you get into this whole subject.
Rav David said to sign a DNR by my mother.
Yeah, okay, so that right. So there you go. That that sock would, I mean, yeah, it's partially based on this Gemara, where if you see that the person's in bad shape, you could daven for them.
But
So
what's the halachic basis for DNR ever? It's the same
because
thing of
the person, they're not going to accomplish anything by doing the resuscitation. Never.
but don't we hold that there's always the hope of this, that, whatever it is.
No, you have to
DNR.
be realistic. You have to be realistic about to go out of your way to such extent, then you're not necessarily required to do. Right? That's what it is. Right? It's you're not mechuyev to go. Yes, water you got to give. I'm saying oxygen, these basic things. Yes, but heroic efforts. I think that's what the Rabbanim like to call it. You're not necessarily mechuyev to do heroic efforts. Okay, weiter. So Rava, and this question comes up. People ask, like when they're going through a sickness, should they publicize it? Should they not publicize it? Right. So there's different malachim. Some people like to publicize, some people get down with them. Other people like to keep it extremely quiet. Rava did both. Rava, on the first day that he was sick, he would tell his people, don't tell anybody. That they shouldn't have a bad mazel. Right? Which, if you look through the different mafarshim, it's basically all about, we had this in Ksubas, I think it was Ksubas. We had it that, Al tiftach pel l'satan. You know what I mean? People say, you heard he's sick? What's the matter with him? He's got the machla. Oh, he's in bad shape. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, people start talking, and it's a bad mazel. So in the first day, he didn't want anybody to know about it.
Tziyaka, wasn't Rava the one in Brachos that had he always had the bad dreams? The Bai and Rava, was Rava the one that had the bad dreams?
I don't remember.
Right, there's a dream interpreter that was one of them. He would always give bad interpretations, and one of them he always gave good interpretations.
And the one who depends who paid him, yeah.
Right. So I think it was the Bai and Rava, if I'm not mistaken.
So, so you're saying Rava was the one that held it.
I think Rava had the bad mazel.
Very good.
But talking about it, just talking about it creates a bad mazel?
What are you saying, David?
Just talking about it, when people find out about something and they start talking about it, that creates a bad mazel?
So David, so you see a rally hat is really real.
Well, that's creating a good mazel, but it doesn't work for the Mets. I don't know what he's saying. So, but yes, that's exactly what the Mefarshim say over here, that people talk. I have to tell you, and I know I always say this, I don't always say it, but whenever interesting Gemaras come up, it happened to me today. Okay. A guy texts me that his father something happened and he's in bad shape. I said, usually with these things, I need to talk to your mom on the way to the hospital. So usually what ends up happening is you talk to them about all the potential bad things, and then you got to do chazara sashir when they get to the hospital because the situation's changed. So I said, I'm not going to call him back. I'll wait for him to get to the hospital. Then because of the Gemara of being mavakar chayla, in my head, I decided this guy's a chayla himself because he's going mashuga. So I called him back and he said, my father coded and he was out for a while. He was already in the hospital. He says, my sisters haven't gotten to me. He says, I'm assuming my father's dead. Like, you can't make this up. So he starts asking me, what do I do when I get there? Tir Kriya said, let's hope that he's alive. Right? But that's exactly.
Do you think he would know? Don't you think he would know?
The guy didn't know anything. He couldn't get a hold of his sister or whoever was in the hospital with the father. Right? And he didn't hear anything for a half hour, 45 minutes. He figured it's all over. And right, his mom is like this Gemara. And he's talking like, what do I do? I said, let's hope. Okay, so I'm telling him what to do. 10 minutes later, I get a text. He's alive. Right? You can't make it up. Your mamish can't make it up.
What a letdown.
Already. He should have gone straight to his father's house and let his sister stay in the hospital with the father.
Yeah. But anyway, so I'm just saying, you see now, the father's not in good shape. He was taka out for a half hour. So, and Baruch Hashem, he's back up, but he's on machines and whatever, so they don't know what damage was done. But whatever, you see that this is what happens with this thing. All right, anyways, you should have refuah shalem. So anyway, so that's what Rava was saying. On the first day, he didn't want to tell anybody. Mikan ve'elach, but after that, now I don't know if that means on date number 2 or only after you get a prognosis. I'm not sure when exactly, but Mikan ve'elach, Amar lahain, he told them, Paiku v'achrizu b'shukuk, now go put out ads in the paper. Go yell it out into the streets. The chol the sunny li. Now you got to hear this lump. This is givaldik. The chol the sunny li. Anybody that hates me, lachadili, is going to be chad means they're going to be happy, right? My enemies are going to be very happy. It says when your enemies are falling, don't be happy. And the rest of the pasuk says, it says uba. How does it say? I can't see. Uba kishalei al yogali becha. Right, and then the end of the pasuk says that it's gonna the Rebbe is gonna get upset at the enemies for getting upset at him, so it's actually gonna help him. And those that have rachmanis, he's saying it's a win-win. The guys that hate me, if they're gonna be happy that I'm in bad shape, so they're gonna get busted, and me and those that have rachmanis are gonna have rachmanis on me. So that was Rava's mahalach. Fine. Amar Rav, anybody who does bikur chaylim gets saved medina shel gehinom. Shenemar ashrei maskel el dal v'yoim ra yimalteo Hashem. Praised is the somebody who thinks about the dal. Dal means sick. Those that are sick, and on a bad day, he saves him. Hashem will save him. Ain't dal. So how do you know that dal usually means poor? So what are we saying here? It means somebody sick. Ain't dal el chayla shenemar. At the end of my life, there's going to be sickness. Inami min hadinkro, from this pasuk. This is talking about the story with Amnon when he wanted to sleep with his sister Tamar. So he made like he was so sick. So they used the lashon dal. Fine. And ein ra ela gehinom, and ra means something bad. Means gehinom. Shenemar kol pa Hashem l'maneu v'gam ra shel yom ra. Fine. So again, so if you visit the sick, you get saved from gehinom. Now the Gemara is saying, and if you do visit, so what's your schar? The Gemara asks, mascharoi kedamar nitzum medina shel gehinom. You can. That's a pretty good schar to get saved from gehinom. Ella mascharoi ba'olam hazeh. So what's your schar in this world? Meaning being saved from gehinom is in the next world. What about this world? So it says
in the Mishnah.
What? Yeah.
So that's why you can ask such a question.
What do you mean?
What's El Dvarim that you get you get principal and you get schar later. So later, so it's asking based on.
But he's asking them for okay. Right. Oh, that's a good point.
Don't we say there's no schar in this world anyways? So what is the Gemara talking about?
Right. So I don't know why the Gemara doesn't ask that, because it's a good question. Because the other place where the Gemara says is the Gemara asks, what do you mean? He's not supposed to look for the schar in this world anyways. Yeah, so here it doesn't say that. I don't know. It's a good point.
The Dar.
Yes. What? The Dar. Hashem yishmereu v'chayeu v'aisher ba'aretz v'altatnei b'nefesh oivav. Hashem yishmereu. What is it? So I'm saying I blew through that pasuk. Hashem yishmereu v'chayeu. Hashem is going to guard him and give him life. V'aisher ba'aretz, and he's going to be successful on earth, right? And he's not going to be given over to the nefesh of his enemies. So Hashem yishmereu miyetzahara. Hashem is going to watch him. That's talking about the yetzahara. And he's going to give him life and a yisurim from suffering. And what does it mean? He's going to be successful in the world. Everybody's going to be mischabed by him. They're going to be so happy to know him. He's not going to be given to his enemies. He's going to have good friends, Kanamon, like Namon, Sharipo as Tsarasai, because he was merape the tsaras his friend was merape his tsaras. And values down and he's not going to have friends like Rechavam, Shechilku as Malchusai, because Rechavam's friend messed up his Malchus. So the story with Naaman is in Melachim, They're both of these stories are in Malachim. Right, so Naaman was from Armon. He was the king from Armon, and he had saras. So he went to Elisha, and Elisha told him to take a bath, go tovel 7 times. I think it was 7 times in the Nilus. I think it was the Nilus, right? And he says, like, what is he telling me? I always go into the thing. So his friend told him, just listen and go. And he went and he became totally healed. So that was a good friend. Rechavam, he was Shlomo's son. He was raising taxes, and he didn't know whether he should raise, should not raise. He listened to the young advisors instead of the old advisors, and it became like a whole civil war. I don't know, whatever it is. So Naaman's friends were good guys, and Rechavim's friends were bad guys. So if you visit the sick, you'll end up with good friends giving you good eitzes. Fine. If the kids will tell you, meaning the younger advisors will say, build the building. Who's a gehinom, sasser, and there's a gehinom will tell you, knock down the building. Shamal is a gehinom, listen to this gehinom, Val Tishmal Yeladim, don't listen to the Yeladim. Shabinyan Yeladim stira.
So this is a raya, you should listen to the old board and not a new board in a shul?
That's sort of what it sounds like, Aaron, yes. That is sort of what it sounds like.
Not so geschmack.
Not so geschmack. Correct.
Because usually they're not with the cards, you need young blood. That's usually,
Well, the young blood says you need young blood. The old blood doesn't say you need the young blood.
But Aaron, if you get them off the board.
Right. I mean, parents.
You got to make sure you have you hear the older generation. Anyways, yes, that's Shabinyan Yeladim stira, because the binyan of young ones can actually cause destruction. Ustira Zakenim binyan, and sometimes when the Zakenim tell you to knock it down, you're gonna end up building because of it. The similar davar, Rechavam ben Shlomo. Like that's the story, Rechavam ben Shlomo. So he was listening to the young guys, and he ended up. I
love how they blame it. I mean, the idea that the kingdom would have split was already told to Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech caused that to happen. Right? Hashem told Shlomo, after certain things, I'm going to have to split your kingdom.
Right.
Would he have delayed it by listening to the?
I don't know. Well, it seems like
I'm saying it's set in motion by Shlomo Melech.
It seems like back then every door had fighting, right?
No, so, I understand, but like I'm saying, so meaning his action of not listening to him is what caused it, or that was just the.
I don't know. I'm almost up to it. I'm up to Perek Aleph in Melachim. I'll let you know next week or Bez Hashem when I'm holding there.
Did you start in Perek? Did you start in Melachim?
I started Melachim last night. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah. There is already a different civil war there in that parak, so gotta work. Yeah. Anyways, fine. Amar of Shisha Breder of Idi. Like lisaid inish ktsira, a person should not go and visit somebody who's sick. I don't know what these lashinas are. Lisaid, ktsira means somebody who's sick. Lisaid, I guess from the word sauda, even though the Rabbi Akiva Eger said you think it's Aedus. Mikvaos really changes it. It should say lis or with a reish in the Gilyon Ashas. But okay. So loylizer inish katsira loy betlashoy kadmoisid, not in the first 3 hours of the day, but loy betlashoy besraisa the yom, not in the last 3 hours of the day. That's why they're visiting hours in the hospital and not early in the morning. They're not late at night. Right? I guess they got it right. The hospitals, right? Ki heichi the loyleser taitim in rachami. So you shouldn't be masiyach doesn't having rachmanas. Right? Why? Because Tlas Shoy Kadmaisa, the first 3 hours, Rav Chadaite. Usually the Chayla is doing a little better in the morning. He feels good. So you go in and you say, he's fine. He doesn't need me to daven. But Sraisa Tokiv Cholshe, in the last 3 hours, he's very weak. So Memela, you're going to think, forget it, I'm not davening. He's overbought. Right? So that's why you go in the middle of the day, you'll have a little bit of both. Fine. Amar Rav and Amar Rav. How do we know that Hashem himself feeds a chayla? Shenemar, Hashem yistadenu al eres devai. Hashem will hold him up on his bed. On eres devai means a bed that's not good. Right. So Hashem feeds him. Amar Rav and Amar Rav. How do you know that the shechina is above the bed of the chayla. Shenamar Hashem Yisadenu al eretz tavai. Hashem is there. So if you go to visit a chayla, don't sit on the bed, on a bed, not even on a bench, not on a chair. Right? What you do is you wrap yourself up and then yoshev al gabi karka and sit on the ground. Because the shechina is there. Which is very interesting because if you look in the Mishnah Brura, he says that if you're davening with the chayla next to you, you don't have to say the chayla's name because the shechina is there. Since the shechina is there, you don't have to say, when you're davening in Shemona Esrei or whatever, then you say the chayla's name. But if you're there right next to the chayla, there's no reason because the shechina is right there and the shechina knows exactly who you're davening for. Right, it's a very interesting din.
Is Hashem Yisadenu a song from like the old Pirchei?
I was wondering that I wasn't sure if it was. I think it is, but I don't think it's these. I don't think it's these words. It's Elokim Yisadenu.
Right. Okay.
But Peretz, we're gonna get to a song in the daf like you never had. I don't know if we'll get to it tonight. If not tonight, tomorrow night, but maybe because if you turn over to Amud Beis, you see that's a beautiful Amud. Yeah. For a Sunday night.
Nowadays,
Sunday night for sure. What?
Nowadays, people go visit and they sit down next to the chayla all the time.
Yeah, so I am not sure exactly why that is.
Don't sit on the bed.
No, it said you can't sit down in a chair.
Right.
You don't sit down in a chair when you visit.
That was yesterday's part.
No, today
3 seconds ago.
That's how they charge money. Here, the Gemara telling you how to
He's talking about here. It says you shouldn't sit on a chair either. Yeah.
It literally says le'agabi hisei.
Right. So the pshat is that you can't be higher than the chayla. That's the pshat because the shechina is above this. So if you're above, let's say the chayla is on a low bed and you're sitting above, so that means you're sitting above the shechina. Right.
They used to put chaylim on the floor, no?
I guess I don't know if it was cold. Well, we had yesterday. Was it yesterday? Dead people, no. Dead people, once they're nifted, they go on the floor. That should be cool.
Yeah, but I think the chaylim they used to put on the floor, and so if you were sitting on a chair, you were above the chaylim.
Right. So then that would be a problem. Because the shechina. Yeah, that makes sense. So the shechina would be. I just heard a story with the Chafetz Chaim. I don't know. Nothing to do with this. Okay. Anyways, fine. V'amar. Where do we leave off? Yeah. V'amar Rav and Amar Rav. We get a little break from Chaylim and we have a little bit Mikvaos. Matra, where Eliyahu Hikvik is not on. This is Mamash up his alley. This is he's a mikveh man. V'amar Rav and Amar Rav. Matra b'marava. When it rains in Eretz Yisrael, Sada Rava Paras, the Nahar Pras, the river, what do you call it? Euphrates River, can testify that it rained in Eretz Yisrael. Why? Because the water runs down to the river, and you could see that it swells.
Yeah, there's mamish today, the same time.
Oh, very good. I didn't even think about it. But yeah, very good. Upliga the Shmuel, but this disagrees with Shmuel. Dama Shmuel Nara Mikipa Misparach. A river gets it swells from under, from like how do you call it? It's a word for it. Under spring fed underground springs or something like that, right? That's so Shmuel. So again, so we have a machlokes here whether these rivers flow from overflow from the water from the rain or from the underground. Upliga the Shmuel ad the Shmuel, and then we have a stira in two Shmuels. The Amar Shmuel ain't my matar and bezaychlin. Water is not matar when it flows on Amud Beis now. Ela paras b'yami Tishrei b'vad. Only the paras, the Euphrates during Tishrei. Now, basically, so we need a little bit of akdama here, and that's why this Amud is so short, because the Ran goes off on Hilchos Mikvaos over here from the bottom, on the bottom. But basically, there's two separate dinim. Of course, Baruch Hashem, with the Torah being so complicated, part of what makes it so complicated is that there's different dinim for different things. Rainwater cannot be kosher as a mikvah if it moves. Rainwater has to be still, cannot be moving. That's why if you have a mikvah that has a crack in it, that mikvah's puzzle because the water is leaking out, right? But water from a stream and from a spring, that could be moving. Right? That's the basic din. What? Like the Arizal's mikvah, the mikvah officially in Square, I think, has it. One of the mikvahs in Brooklyn has it because they dug, it's near the water and they dug all the way down and went to the ocean, whatever it is, but that's the din. So this question comes up a lot because in Florida, people say, I see these lakes, can I tovel kalim in there? Or upstate New York, you see a river, can you tovel, can you not? So if it's rainwater, you can't, right? Because it's moving. If it's not rainwater, then you can. So how do you know? So basically the practical is what we're saying here is that in Tishrei, Shmuel, the second Shmuel was saying in Tishrei, we figure all the water from the winter already stopped flowing. So therefore, you can assume that there's no rainwater in the Euphrates River in Tishrei, in the Tishrei season. But the rest of the time, you have to be concerned that all that runoff is rainwater, right? So basically, that's what he's saying. So he's saying that you have to have two tnaim in whether to use it as a mikvah. One, that it can never dry up, because if it ever dried up even once, then how do you know it's not rainwater that's keeping it going? Meaning it was fed from underground, then you can assume that it never dried up because it's being fed underground. But not if it dries up. And two is you have to wait for the winter season to sort of calm down. All right, so that's what we do say, that if you're going to use a stream, and like in upstate New York, I'm just saying upstate New York because that's where most of the shilas come up. Don't tovel it on the edges, because that could be rainwater. You're going to use the stream, go in the middle where it's in all probability not rainwater. It's the regular being fed from underground. But anyway, so we have two different versions of Shmuel. Fine. So Avud the Shmuel, Abad Lahain Mikvaos lebanse b'yom Nisan. So Shmuel's father made for his daughters mikvaos in Nisan. He made them regular mikvaos because obviously he was chayshid to use the streams because he felt that there was rainwater. But in Tishrei, when he allowed them to use the streams, he put mats over there. He put mats there, so there's two pshat and why he put mats. One, because if you walk on the ground, so the dirt can get into the woman's toes, and that could be a chatzitza. So he put down a mat so that they won't have a chatzitza. Or some say he put a mat around them because since they're using the mikvah in public, so then he put up maps, so it shouldn't be a problem. Right now, this does come up that women end up using the ocean for mikvah. Puerto Rico has no mikvah as far as I know. So if a woman gets stuck having to go to the mikvah there, you got a problem. So you got to use, so ocean is for sure okay. So the shaila streams and lakes, you really can't know how it's fed. It's very difficult to know how it's fed. If it's from rainwater, then maybe it's leaking and then it's a problem. If it's fed from underground, then we don't care if it's leaking. But if it's fed from underground, so then how do you know that it's fed from underground? So that's the lake by the Shayoshu Bungalow colony in the country. I don't know how they know this, but they say that it's fed from underground, and therefore you can use it even though the water is moving. Okay, anyway, so that's sugya of mikvaos. We really try and convince women not to. What do you say?
What do we come al maskana by rivers according to Shmuel?
What do you mean? What do we come out the maskana? I mean,
According
which Shmuel do we go with?
Yeah, it's machlekes Shmuel and Amud the Shmuel.
We go with Amud the Shmuel.
Even though there's another Shmuel that doesn't hold it.
Yeah, b'diavad will be saimich, but it's a machlekes. That doesn't come as a surprise, right? It's a machlekes rishonim. Who do we paskin like? We try lechatchila not to use a river, but if you do have to, then you use the middle of the river, not the edges. Yeah. Okay, let's go a little bit weiter. So Amar Rav Ami, Amar Rav, back to Chayla. Amar Rav Ami, Amar Rav, Mai dichsev v'ato ben adam aselecha klei goyla. What does it say? That it says that the pasuk says that you should make yourself kalim to go into galus with it. Right? It's a pasuk in Yecheskel. So zu ner. So you need when you're going to go into galus, you need a ner, uka'ara, and a plate or a bowl, I guess, to eat from. On Tomad Aleph now, v'shatiach, and like a mat to sit on. And b'chayser kol, and then it says that if you're going to go run out into the galus, you're going to be missing things. So what are you going to be missing? So Amar Avami, Amar Rab, b'loy ner u'b'loy shulchan. That means you're not going to have a lamp, you're not going to have a shulchan. Rav Chisda Amar b'loy isha, you're not going to have a wife. Rav Sheshes Amar b'loy shamash, you're not going to have a shamash. Which I found interesting because who has shamashim? Right? You can run to goals, you're not going to have a shamash. I mean, how many people have shamashim when they're not in goals? Okay, what?
It's time for
You got a shamash. I got one. I have a shamash. Rav Nachman Amar b'loy deya, without das, right? Meaning, if you're going to go running around, so you're going to lose your das, that's really bad. Tana b'loy melach or b'loy revav. Some say it's without salt, and without revav, it's without. Rashi says shuman, fats. Parrots, no, you're going into Golos now. You can't go without your salt and your fats. Parrots schlepping his meat, right? That's it, because he's going to Teretz Yisrael, so it's not Golos. Right? So you got to, but as it's saying, you got to have salt.
He's a good shver. He's bringing for the Aiden. My shver never brought me those smoked briskets.
Yeah, but anyways, so no, that's it.
All right, because your shver wasn't paying for it either way. So here, at least it's cheaper if I bring it.
He didn't bring me a smoked brisket when he came to my house here.
Anyway,
I'm sorry,
yeah, so
I tried to talk bad about your friend. I apologize.
But anyway, so it's an interesting thing to go to Golos. If you don't have your salt and your fats, that's like a punishment to not go to Golos. So then Omar Abai Naktinon Ein Ani Ela B'deya. An Ani means if somebody doesn't have his brains, right, then that's mamish, that's real Ani. But Marova Amri, if you don't get this one, then I don't know. Dido Bey, who has it? Kula Bey has everything. If you have das, then it's everything. Deloy Dobey, yes, Deloy Dobey.
That's a nigga and a daf, right?
Yes,
there.
it is. That's why I wanted to get to it tonight because parents are traveling tomorrow. I don't know. He says, I'll make sure. Deloy Dobey, Ma Bey. If you don't have das, then what do you have? Da Koni, Ma Chaser. If you own it, then you're missing. What are you missing? If you have das. Da Loy Koni. If you don't have das, Ma Koni. So then what do you have? So basically, that's what people say. Is that a person has to have das. If you don't have das, if you're missing das, then you're out. Then that's bad. So going into Golos, you could lose your das. I'm assuming it's because of traveling that you get a little cuckoo in the head. I'm assuming, but I don't know if that's true. Anyways, all right, we'll stop over here.
Yeah, Uncle Kaplan has a little R here. Did the bay all the way with?
LBJ,
there you go.
Yeah, anyway. All right. Anyways, everybody should not have to go to Golos, and we should have only good to Pesudas. All right.
I can finish the daf in my 15. Look at this.
Yeah. There you go. All right.
So if you begin with that.
Yeah.
We were talking about Dvarim, Tzchar. Bikachol, right? It's in the Mishnah.
Bikachol,
Dvarim, right?
Yeah.
Chaim Kreisworth was got very sick when he was young.
Yeah.
He went to the stipler. I heard this thing told the stipler, yeah, this examination, you have to get rid of it. And the stipler and him argued, and then he finally got the stipler to agree. The stipler went into a room and davened for an hour, 2 hours, came out and said, "You can have a foolish lame." He said, "Okay, what should I do?" So he opens up the Mishnah, and it says, "What stops Bikach Cholim and Levi Sames?" He was very.
Oh, right. That's why he was so on the Chaskala. Yeah.
He was very involved with Chaskala. He told me this.
Interesting.
How do we rock a call on the phone and we daven for them on the phone?
Oh, so that's
that's
part of the reason why it's not lechatchila. It's not lechatchila on the phone.
Right. Because you said the main thing is davening for them, no?
Yes. I should have written my text from yesterday a little bit clearer. Well, but yeah, it's not.
Zoom would be lechatchila.
I don't know, because if you hold going there, well, if you see and you could check out the situation, yeah, a Zoom would certainly be better than a phone, right?
Right. FaceTime probably.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Danke.
a bigger channel.